Welcome back to the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice. I am Jared Kale, and I am cold, and I'm sitting here with QXE and Todd as we're about to get into our third series of the day. Another PVZ, another player from Liquid, and a player from Holland named Rhett, and his opponent, the Protoss. We saw him earlier in the first series of the day, Verdi. Any thoughts on this matchup coming up?
I would like to gesture. God, what is the word? I don't know. I want to give Verdi a nickname, but I'm not sure what it's going to be yet. Right now I'm thinking Illusionist, possibly the Confuser.
I was thinking olive oil.
Oh, I like this.
Olive oil. Olive oil.
Olive oil?
Yeah, olive oil. I always see Verdi on olive oil packaging.
Are you serious?
Is that just Canadian branding? Or
Is that would that be like the worst nickname? Okay, so Verdi, the Russian Protoss, we just saw him play against Paranoid, using some pretty interesting kind of misleading builds.
Mm-hmm.
And also all-inning, two-base all-inning, well, like all-inning, yeah. Basically two-base all-inning every game. We saw 7-Gate, we saw Immortal, and we saw Blinkstalker. So it'll be interesting to see. Most people, if they all-in every single game, they usually do that in every series. If we had seen him do like two all-ins in a macro game, then I would expect to see some macro games here against Rhett. But since all we've seen so far have been those two-base all-ins, I would expect something like that going up against Rhett as well.
Yeah, he's not been mixing it up. He's been very straightforward, not even trying to hide like the fact he might take a third with like some pylon on his third base or something, or killing the Overlord. He just goes for two bases, cuts probe before 50, and hits his big timing.
All right, well, I'm not sure what map we're opening up on.
ESL Ohana.
Back to Ohana again.
Which is a really good Immortal Sentry map, right?
Yeah. You can't make me say good things about Protoss against Zerg. That's what you need to understand.
Well, other Protosses that are more optimistic than Todd tell me that you can Immortal Sentry on this map against Zerg, and it's pretty good.
Like who?
I can't tell you.
Okay.
Busted. All right, well, the players are in the game. It started. Pass it over to our showcasters who have changed up a little bit. It's now Kalars and Sean Apollo Clark. Have fun.
Thank you very much, Jarrett. Welcome to the caster's desk here, as we'll be jumping into our first game in just a second.
That's right.
How you doing, man?
I'm very good. Good to be here back at the Intel Extreme Masters once again. And very excited to get into this game. And of course, Rhett going up against Verdi. Remember, this is a position in round 4. Whoever wins this is qualified for the main tournament itself.
That's true. Not too long a road for these guys, as we do have one of them spawning down in the bottom right-hand corner here, as our Red Zerg. And he goes by the name Liquid Rhett. And spawning up in the top corner here as well, we have the winner of our previous PVZ we saw, and he goes by the name of Verdi.
And to be honest, I've watched Verdi's games with Todd before. I had high hopes of him entering the open bracket. He's been a very talented individual throughout 2012. Now, coming into 2013, first tournament of the year, what is he going to bring to the table? Because in the later stages of 2012, he did finish 3rd place in the IESF tournament in Korea. So that's a big tournament. And to get that far, put himself up high hopes for 2013. But as Todd and even the nicknames coming out from QXE, he's not had the best play here today.
The Illusionist or the Confuser, apparently.
His builds weren't clean, is the best way to describe it. They were a little bit confusing.
Okay, I just had a few names pop into my head, but I'm not even going to go down that path. We have now Verdi here, just opening up with his pylon at the front of his ramp to kick things off, so we'll be going for Nexus first, do like that. And, I mean, Rhett's Rhett. He very, very rarely deviates from the big macro game here.
Yeah, that's completely true. I think Rhett's going to play a very standard ABC textbook style of play from Zerg. Focus on their economy, just scouting intensively with overlords, figuring out what his opponent is doing, and then just reacting to it. The question is, what is Verdi going to do? We've seen a variety of styles from him today, aggressive ones in the majority, but in this game on Ohana, he's gone for Nexus first.
Oh, and I love the deviation that we're already seeing from Verdi, going for the gateway before the cannon, really kind of ironing out this build to allow him to just propel himself a little bit in terms of tech.
And then second pylon too, so he's going to be able to continue to chrono his probes. His cannon is late, but he's playing against a player that isn't going to have a fast spawning pool. On a map like Ohana, easy. The probe's in a position where it blocks it if it just sits there and parks its bum, but if necessary, can easily build an additional structure to complete a full wall off. So nice adaptation here, considering he did fall down just shortly before, as we saw against Paranoid 2-1.
Yep, and Rhett for now just continuing to position himself well, getting his Zerglings out into the middle of the map as well as taking his third. So, as you said before, ABC standards here from Rhett, transferring his queen to the natural as well, and just making sure there's no pesky probes out in the middle of the map with one Zergling, but there is already one moving out right now.
Oh, excuse me, I meant beat Paranoid 2-1 before. As we continue on with this, as the probe is going to go down, that probe's obviously straight towards the third, looking to see if it's there or not. I mean, even against Rhett, even though you know it's going to be there, you still as a pros player have to confirm it. And as he goes in, he sees it, he knows, all right, well, he is doing what I expect him to do. And now Verdi can have a sigh of relief and continue with his plan here. And we do not have +1 down yet. We'll see if it's going to come down with the as you can see in the top right, 80 gas now, closing up to 100. That could be a fast robo, or it could be a +1.
Yep. We have a Stalker on the way to kick things off, but I like what you said before about the idea of having to scout it out, regardless of if you just know blindly Rhett's going to do it. You can't account for those eventualities. You have to see it. You have to know that's going on, because if the one time in 1,000 your opponent says, "Hey, I'm going to go for something different," and you're the victim of that, you don't want to be in that situation.
And he has got Ferobo here as well before that +1, unlike his previous games where he was getting +1 first. +1 starts immediately after here, but this is leaning towards, at the moment, a mortal push. It could easily be an expansion build as well, but on a map like Ohana, they did talk about it before, it is very favorable towards that. But with double gas being taken, that doesn't really, well, there's only one being shown to Rhett, but with double, you don't need double gases, you don't need 4 gases to go for an immortal push here. You only need 3, so at the moment it seems like it could be an expansion, but as before, this is the Confuser.
The Confuser, indeed. Rhett's going to poke in now, seed those double gases with the Overlord, and, you know, that first Immortal is indeed on the way here. I guess, you know, with an extra 4th gas, you just allow yourself to have a lot of sentries, but he doesn't actually have that many guys in gas right now.
That's right. So, to be honest, you know, 75 minerals to build the assimilator, if you're not mining efficiently, it only slows down the gateways from being added on after. And now we are seeing a couple of gateways gone down right on the left-hand side there, hiding it away from the initial Overlord, which of course is on the right-hand side of the double assimilators. And I think there's another Overlord, if I'm not mistaken, in the middle of both the bases. Verdi identifying where both of them are, realizing there is not one to the bottom left of his base, so he hides the first 2 gateways there.
Yeah, we have the Roach right now on the way for Rhett here, along with that layer, trying to crank out as a little bit of tech here to deal with what his opponent's going to do, throwing down the macro hatch as well. Not many gases taken from him just yet, just the 3, but doesn't really need a massive amount at this point. He just needs to know and get full confirmation that his opponent's going for, well, a very aggressive stance.
Yeah, I mean, there's all the gateways coming down, the Immortals are coming on. Once that 3rd one's done, we'll see Verdi move across the map, most likely be building that Warp Prism to reinforce this army. He's going for the Immortal in, he's going to put it on the line here to see if he can beat down Liquid Rhett. So far, though, we've focused on Verdi, but Rhett really hasn't done anything wrong in this game yet.
Yeah. Just droning up as best he can do. He's stuck at that 60 drones, which is where you commonly see our Zerg players sitting around at. Actually, 4 Spore Crawlers going down here for Rhett as well. He doesn't really know what the hell's going on.
That could be the first mistake of this game here. Now he sees it, he's seen it, and to be honest, the Spore Crawlers should be getting cancelled. Spine Crawlers need to be coming down because the attack is coming. That's what's happening. Can he actually bait out Force Fields here? This is actually a bad attack for Rhett. And no Force Fields done. That's just made things even worse. We can see 400 resources left for Rhett before it even begins.
Oh, wow, very, very nicely done there by, well, Verdi just seizing the opportunity of the mistake there by Rhett, and with 12 or 13 roaches on the way. One thing that I'm a little bit scared for Rhett is if Verdi breaches the location near his opponent's natural, the Roach Warren's really vulnerable, don't you think?
Yes, it completely is. With no roaches, there's only Zerglings left, which means just build Zealots along with the Force Fields that are around. And as we can see, that's already the composition that Verdi seems to be heading towards here. Not so many Stalkers, but we'll see if Rhett can hold on to this.
Yeah, he's going to push in now. He actually gets a nice little chip in there with the Zerglings, but Force Fields are off a lot of roaches, wasting a lot of time on the DPS of those. And again, if he marched up the ramp, he could kill off that roach one. He knows where it is now. He saw it with the probes, and actually the unit's warping in right next to it. And the roaches are actually being pinned behind these buildings as if they were Force Fields themselves.
Absolutely fantastic push here by Verdi. He's not taking any damage on the Immortals. Rhett is on the back foot. As you mentioned, the Roach Warren is in a dangerous position. This is one chance for Rhett.
Yeah, it really is. Another nice force field goes down, only allowing Rhett to filter through slightly with some of those roaches. Those Immortals doing a lot of damage. One did die off, but the roach warren dies off as well. Rhett knew about that before, though. He knew that he built that in a vulnerable spot. He started a roach warren about 50% time ago, but Verdi's not done yet.
Not too many force fields left, though. He still has a couple, and he's fighting it. Oh, that's actually a good surround there by Rhett, but I don't think it matters with two Immortals. Great micro with the Warp Prism. Immortals live forever, my friends.
They do, they do. They keep themselves alive quite handily, as for now he has to pull off all the drones as well. Rhett feels he's in trouble. Verdi's taking a supply lead here as well. The drone's doing a pretty darn good job of soaking up some damage here, but there's not that many units behind it to actually do any damage therefore.
Yeah, this is a really perfectly executed Immortal push here by Verdi. A complete difference from the earlier games we saw where mistakes were happening despite his 2-1 win over Paranoid. He's nailing it right now.
Yeah, he really is. Rhett on the ropes here. Now almost 20-30 supply up here. Verdi crushing through this natural, killing it off. GG for game number 1. Verdi with arguably a little bit of an upset there in game number 1.
Yeah, that was a really strong performance by Verdi there for sure.
Very, very nicely done. So, yeah, I mean, Ohana being a good map for that to kick things off for Verdi, doing very, very well. And Rhett has to be a little bit stifled by this, a little bit stumped.
Absolutely. I mean, especially if you watch the games previous, where even though we saw Verdi win against Paranoid, it wasn't the cleanest victory.
Yeah.
But here, I'm sure he's surprised.
Yep. So let's send it over to the analysis desk, guys, with Jarrett and our fellows.
And Verdi takes game 1 against Liquid Rhett. A little bit surprising for me. The Confuser ended up confusing him by playing more normal.
Yeah, he played just about the most normal game you would ever expect. Forge Expand, goes straight into the Robo Immortal All-In, goes up to 10 gateways, which is a lot of gateways, allows him to build a lot of units with that forward Warp Prism, and Rhett just didn't quite have enough units to hold there. One of the things that we kind of saw that was a problem when Paranoid was defending the 7 gate on this map was the rocks weren't broken. This time around, the push came a little bit later, rocks were down, didn't really seem to be much of a factor.
Okay, so basically I was saying, okay, I will come back to your point in a second, but I was saying that the Confuser does not mix it up. Actually, he took confusing to next level here, because he did not even scout. In the previous series, in both of the games he opened Forge Expo, he scouted after his first pylon. He even threw down a pylon to block the natural of his opponent. But in this series, he did not choose to do that. He went for the no-scout style with a very quick Nexus. And there, from the mid-game, we see Rhett trying to scout with his Overlords, but he's not able to get in this Stalker very nicely. It was made as soon as the core finished, being able to deny the scouting from those Overlords, so Rhett is not going to know if there is a Robo or anything else. And now he does see the 2 gases early on at the expansion, so he has to think there is some kind of a tech coming. Like, this is almost never going to be a kind of big gate push. But Verdi is not scouting, I mean, he's not mining with too many probes just yet at his expansion, so I don't know, like, for Rhett right now, he has to think that there might be some kind of push coming, but it's not going to be a big gate attack. So he throws down his Roach Warren and Evo at about the right time. And he already has a great saturation. I really have to salute that by Rhett. He really built up a drone count, a heavy drone count very early on here. But you know, when I see these games, like, the execution of Verdi was not nearly as good as Spartings of the Immortal push. But somehow it feels like Rhett, he made mistakes that made him lose the game, but I can't really exactly see what they are. Like, it's very hard for me to tell. I guess I should consult the players a little bit. Like, how do you feel about this? Like, do you think he made the macro hatch too late here, or?
I mean, I would just look more towards how much money he has as the push is coming, how many drones he has, is he getting supply stuck, especially with a Zerg player. Even if he gets supply stuck, once he's hit saturation, if he gets supply stuck in maybe the first round, as long as he's not immediately needing those units, it's not too big of a deal. But you want to look at, like, as the push is coming, is he getting supply stuck? Is he getting a problem? Can you open the drones?
So actually, Rhett, he was making 3 spores because he saw no attack coming earlier, and he was afraid maybe of DTs or Stargate play. And now he realized on time that this was going to be an Immortal push, so he canceled the 3 spores. Very nicely done. He has speed on the way, +1, and Roach speed. But I don't know. He still cannot hold. Maybe like his drone count seems fine. He should be able to hold it.
He's got full saturation, so he should be able to produce basically as much as possible out of his his various hatcheries. Actually, look at, he does get supply stock. He is actually building 5 overlords all at once right there, and then he engages before the additional level of production kicks in. He lost some lings at the watchtower there, and I think it's more just a lot of little things here kind of throw him off. And actually,
this wall is working against him.
Yeah, the wall puts him in a really bad spot after he allows his opponent to get up that ramp. And I think I take back what I said earlier about Ohana and the rocks. Even though the rocks are broken, basically instead of being able to poke with the roaches and try and pick off some sentries or force some early force fields, Rhett is forced to use his roaches to break down those rocks. If the rocks are still up, there's no way to hold the third. So the rocks actually were significant. They just were significant earlier on. Basically, their very existence forced Rhett to commit a lot of units to attacking that instead of putting them in a more useful place on the map.
Okay, very good points. And I feel like Rhett, he had to pull drones here. He did not have enough to deal with this. And ideally, if he didn't have his buildings here, he could have just waited here behind with a big chunk of army and tried to flank, which would have forced a couple force fields here. But I mean, if he can buy himself some more time until he gets more units, his saturation was untouched for a lot of time before this big attack finally came at about 11 minutes over here, where he really had to commit. So maybe he gotta work on the small mistakes here, but somebody mentioned that we might see an immortal push on this map. It was you, Jared, right?
Yes.
So well done on predicting exactly how this game was gonna go. The Confuser, he mixed it up with his opener, but he did go for a 2-base all-in again. So Reds, he has to be thinking that this might come again in the next game, and he really has to be careful.
Yeah, I agree. I think we'll definitely see another 2-base all-in.
We're moving on to game 2 on the map Daybreak. The casters are ready, and so are the players. Or not yet. Well, interesting bit of trivia. We looked up Verdi while we were in the game because we were confused. I thought it was the olive oil, and he disagreed. And he was right about it not being olive oil, but nobody guessed it correctly.
Yep, Italian composer. You can look him up. I'm sure you'll know the song when you hear it. I certainly did, even though I didn't know who it was by. Now you've heard it. I'm sure you know what it is.
There's usually opera that accompanies that, or some vocals, right, of some kind.
Do you want to do the opera vocals?
No, I won't do that part.
I'll set up the...
But I will sing on stage at the next Intel Extreme Masters, apparently.
If I can have
Twitter followers, I'm going to acapella some Lady Gaga.
What's your Twitter then?
My Twitter's at Jarrett Kale. It's not under me. It should be.
Well.
Thanks, guys.
The game is up, though.
The game is up. Let's go over to our casters, Apollo and Kalaris. Have fun.
Thank you very much, guys. Such a virtuoso in the musical talents.
Wonderful, wonderful. Just gets me in the mood to watch StarCraft listening to QXC and Jarrett Kale, as you obviously know.
Yeah, so guys, we will be loading up onto Daybreak here for game number 2, as we have Liquid Red trying to battle it back here, spawning up in the top right-hand corner as our Red Zerg. And spawning down in the bottom left-hand corner here as our blue Protoss. Currently 1 game up, and a little bit surprisingly, he goes by the name of Verdi.
That's right. And I had high hopes for him, and as soon as I cast him, he does well. That is a caster, amazing, magical thing.
Not a curse.
Not a curse. Not a curse. It's the anti-curse.
Yes.
But going on to this game, Daybreak, of course, is a little bit more tricky for Protoss players, depending on the stage of the game. Early to mid stages are a little bit more difficult. Once it gets to later on, depending on how the early to mid stages went, it can favor you, it cannot. And we'll have to see. But Verdi's 1 game away now from actually guaranteeing a spot in the main tournament itself, and that's quite impressive.
And not just that, but like a high seed, so he will always go in with a lower seeded player from the opens as well. I mean, there's quite an extensive wealth of talent in the groups already, so regardless of where you go, you're not going to be in the most amazing of situations, but you definitely want to be avoiding those groups with people like parting in, those kind of danger areas.
And he's from Russia, he traveled here, he probably had to get a visa, I'm not sure on that or not, but to be able to win this game against Rhett would guarantee him prize money.
Yeah,
if he loses it, he still would have to face off probably in a rematch against Paranoid to get a spot. And, you know, the way that he won against Paranoid before wasn't, as mentioned, the cleanest, and that could be a dangerous situation for him to lose against Rhett now 2-1, to fall down to Paranoid, and then have to play him again and not qualify, considering he's only 1 map away from guaranteed prize money here.
Yeah, you're right. And Paranoid, I mean, technically he will be playing the lower bracket right now, but you can guarantee he will, you know, be taking a lot of wealth away from the series that he had with him previously. So, and dealing with the 2-base tactics over Protoss, if you know they're coming, is a lot easier. And look at this, actually, Verdi's pylon placement is exactly the same as Paranoid game number 1.
Absolutely, and to go to the point you just said is the Immortal push is a mystery sometimes, because you know, it seems that you can stop it and then others you can't. And I've spoke to Nurture about it a lot, and he hates the Immortal push. He despises it, he doesn't know how to beat it, and he thinks, in God honest truth, that an Immortal push executed to the finest detail is not beatable. And we saw Verdi pull that off. Not perfect, but it was a very good executed Immortal push, and Rhett struggled. You know, the analysis desk was struggling to try to find what went wrong for Rhett, and it was all really minor details. And as a Zerg player against a player that executes something like that, you can't make those mistakes, and even they weren't even major mistakes.
No, you're right. Very, very minor, and Rhett coming off very, very scathed there, as Verdi for now completes this wall off with the cybernetic score, getting a few more roaches out on the side of Rhett, and he's going to be playing his standard game once again. It's going to be up to Rhett to really figure out what Verdi is up to.
One thing I noticed from Verdi, he does a mistake every single game, is the main Nexus. Once he gets saturation of 16 probes in the mineral line, he then chrono boosts the Nexus in the main. That's actually a big mistake, because obviously, he's done it again. That should be chrono boost on the natural, because then the probes don't have to travel as far on the natural. You're building more probes from the main because you're chrono boosting. It saves time and actually generates you more money. And he does, you know, chrono boost onto the natural Nexus there, but fine details, man. We were looking at fine details for Rhett before. We're looking at fine details for Verdi now.
It's true. It's true. Verdi, you're right. That efficiency is so important at these tip-top high-level games. And Verdi not eking that out, but still, I mean, we can't take anything away from him. He just took a really strong game off Rhett here. And Rhett, he's playing his same game as he was in the first one. He's getting his double gas guys at around the 6-minute mark at his natural. This is exactly the same as what we saw from him in game number 1. And for now, just an extra 1 gateway.
Well, Verdi's playing very similar to how he played against Paranoid when he went for the 7-gate +1 attack here.
That's true.
So depending on how he does this, he's chrono boosting the Cyber Core as well. His +1 is over 50% now, and we'll see. There's an extra gateway coming down. I just heard it warp in. The Roach Warren down at 650 there, just about. How many more gateways is coming down? 4. He's going for it. There's the double probes as well, Kalaris. He's going to go for a 7-gate +1 attack against Rhett. The question is, can Rhett defend?
And we'll probably see him stop at 40 probes once again, like he did exactly the same time. That probe has just been sitting around there waiting to put the gates down. There is one Overlord on the way into the base for Rhett here, but Verdi's already moving out to the middle of the map and already placing those pylons.
And Rhett is building 16 lings right now. He's at 49 drones, which isn't too much. All he needs to do is defend against this, and obviously he's going to draw the series up. But can he do it? The Zergling speed is so far away. Rhett knows exactly what he's playing against now as he sees the probe, the pylon, the lot.
Yeah, he knows everything, and it's up to Rhett now to be able to solve that puzzle. Will Verdi be able to put the pieces together as that third base looks a little, well, not too vulnerable. The spine crawler's already down. There's a lot of links there. Verdi actually looks as if he just wants to hit the natural.
Yeah, with 88 supply to 55, I'm not sure if Verdi has enough units here. Rhett might be able to overwhelm him. There's a lot of Zerglings out, 33 at the moment, with 5 roaches as well. Obviously, Zergling speed's going to need to come into factor here once this finishes. And here we are going to have Verdi. Remember, no sentries.
Right, was slightly supply blocked, so he did need to get a little bit of extra room there. The Zerglings are going to get a good subs area. And those Stalkers at the back here, whilst the Zealots are having to deal with the Roaches, Rhett is in a pristine position here to actually push this back. Verdi, against all of these Roaches, doesn't have a good hope as long as those warpings don't come in time.
Good drone stopping by Rhett. He stopped at 49. Perfect engagement. As you notice, even without speed, the Zerglings run past the Zealots, behind the Stalkers, trap them there, and then allowed the Roaches to deal the damage to the Zealots. And that was a fantastic hold there by Rhett. And now with Zergling speed done, the Lagrange jets kicking off, Verdi's been shut down. Yeah,
there you go. GG, guys, for game number 2 as Verdi and Rhett tie the series up 1-1 here. Yeah. That was really well played by him. Rhett even knew at that point that the game was done. He was morphing in his lair at the end, morphing in evolution chambers, extra gas geysers. He knew he was in fine position.
That's drawn the series up now, guys, and obviously all to play for. Remember, the winner of this third game moves on as guaranteed in the tournament.
So we shall send it to the analysis desk, guys, with Jarrett, Kevin, and Johan, as they have a little bit of information for that game.
Liquid Rhett ties up the series, 1 game apiece, takes game 2 quite convincingly. Easy hold for him.
Yep.
We'll be a little quicker this time with our analysis. We know we have 1 moment around 7 minutes and 30 seconds in.
Oh yeah, it's coming.
And it's coming.
One of the main differences between that game and why it looked so easy for Rhett and why Verdi's all-ins in the other games looked so strong was Rhett saw it coming with plenty of time, plenty of notice to get ready and convert his income into units. And that's really, as a Zerg player, what you have to be aware of what's going on so that you know, when do I convert into units, when do I convert into tech, when do I convert into more economy. And Rhett saw it. We're going to go to Todd, who's got that replay open. He's going to show us the key moment here where Rhett really figures out exactly what's going on and is able to react appropriately and turn this game into a pretty straightforward win.
Okay, so we have this Overlord over here, and I have to say this is beautiful positioning. He's able to see that there is no gases being added on at the expansion, which means obviously only one thing. There is gates being added, and there's going to be a big pressure. He saw the chrono boost even on the cybernetics core. So he knew this was coming. He started speed as soon as possible. He has his Roach Warren on the way. And he just gets only Lings and Roaches from now and just try to hold. He has a good Crisp thread at his third, which is going to basically prevent any proxy pylon from being made around here. And I know he even confirms this by seeing the gates. So he just has to play very defensive from there. He does not have to move out. He needs to stay as close as he can to his archeries, basically.
Yep.
And wait for the reinforcements to basically overpower the Protoss army.
At that point, he knows his opponent's committed to the attack. He doesn't make any serious macro mistakes from that point on. He builds the units he needs and takes the game pretty convincingly.
Yeah, we saw some really nice micro here. I mean, he didn't really put those links on the Stalkers, but he always placed his Roaches nicely. Now he pulled them back when they were kind of alone, waiting for the Zerglings to reinforce. And he hadn't started Lair, actually.
Yep.
I didn't see if he cancelled it or if he hadn't started at all, but that probably helped a lot.
Yeah, that's extra minerals, extra gas, which is all really important to making sure that your economy is just able to be completely converted into units, defend that push as well as you can, takes the game, and now...
Do you think he might have cancelled it?
I'm not sure.
Oh, wow. Did not really
what is,
pay attention to that. I think he had to have started it at some point, and then he realized this was going to be a big gate pressure. He wanted the extra 150 minerals. I guess you don't get the full refund, but you do get most of it back.
I think with that one Overlord that was able to see that there was no gases at the natural, that definitely helped him make that decision whether or not he wanted that faster layer or not. And then also, obviously, he scouts the rest of those gateways being built in the main. That's a very clear tell.
All right, the next map is going to be on Antigua. How does that feel for PVZ?
It's the worst map for Protoss. I have no idea why he didn't remove it. Maybe he has some kind of secret plan. Maybe he wants to confuse his opponents.
Even his map picks are confusing.
Yes.
This guy's amazing.
Confuser.
He's quickly becoming my favorite player.
Really?
No.
No.
No, maybe a bit.
Did you like his song?
I like the composer.
It's the same person.
Who? The player? Oh, no wonder. That's amazing. He's like 80.
I think he's older than that.
At the time of his death. All right, we're getting the players ready in the game. I think there might have been a hiccup or two.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right. So, what do you think of Poland so far?
It's nice. It's very cold.
It's very cold here.
Yep. It's quite a bit colder than back in Pittsburgh, which is where he came from.
Yeah, it's actually a lot colder than Toronto, where I just came from, which is actually pretty warm right now.
Really?
Yeah, they lied to me, man. They promised me that it would be warmer here. I think people think Canada's colder than it is, man.
Someone told you that Poland would be... I mean, I guess Canada. Like, I would figure with all the polar bears and the igloos...
Yes, all those polar bears and igloos.
...that it would be a little bit colder, possibly, than Poland, where they don't sleep snuggled with polar bears.
It's true. But, you know, igloos are actually very well insulated. A lot of people don't know that.
Right. And they're made out of the most plentiful resource in Canada.
Yes, snow.
Snow.
Yep, absolutely.
Year-round.
Can never dehydrate. You can just eat some of your wall if you need to.
I guess you could.
All right. Well, we're going to fix this hiccup. In the meantime, we're going to cut to a quick commercial. We will be back shortly with Rhett versus Verdi, Game 3, to see who moves on and who moves down. Don't go anywhere.